Over-the-top video conference client effectiveness. Structure the future of your advisory practice, designing efficiencies and unique experiences into your video interactions with clients and prospects. Welcome once again to The Rare Advisor, where we are talking about the business model that is supercharged through recurring and repeatable events. My name is Mike Walters, CEO here at USA Financial. I've asked Mark Mersman, our Chief Marketing Officer, to join me once again. He was kind enough on our last session to talk about building the experience for the consumer or for your client when you're dealing with video conferencing. And what I'd ask him to come back and visit with us once more on is kind of taking it to that next level, what I would call over-the-top video conference experiences. So there are ways to market yourself. There are ways to build your business remotely with video conferencing. And Mark Mersman has kind of become the expert in this category. So we're going to tap into all that he knows. Mark,
that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure. Really, if you think about the last video that we had recorded as kind of this is the minimum that you have to do to get yourself ready for video conferencing. Really, what we want to zero in on here is what are some of the things that. All right, let's take it up. And a good friend of ours, Dennis Mosley Williams, he has a phrase, and I think it comes out of the experience economy, do the work that is required, not just assigned. When you think about that, the work that's assigned to us in the financial profession is all the stuff like opening accounts and helping them understand statements and financial planning and spreadsheets and processing. Those are all the things that's the stuff that's assigned that we know we have to do as a part of this. What's required, when you hear that, what's required is referring to what's required to grow your business. What's kind of that extra step that you have to do in order to create a memorable experience? Because that's the stuff that's really going to end up resulting in a referral or an introduction from an existing client. It's the kind of the added step that you took in order to create a neat experience. I think one really simple one, I wouldn't even say that this is really all that extravagant, but if you're using a scheduling software, which I know a lot of advisors use, whether it's Calendly or Schedule Once, a lot of those can sync up with your video conferencing meeting setup. So, whether it's, Microsoft Teams, Zoom is a good example of one that if somebody sets an appointment with you, it will automatically create that Zoom meeting. So it's provided in that confirmation, it's in the link. And so it's synced. Your team doesn't have to do anything, in terms of, I have to send them the Zoom link. It's pretty standard now. I mean, especially if, the more and more Zoom meetings that are starting to take place, people are starting to experience that more, but it's really that added step so that the person on the other end doesn't have to go searching around for, what's the Zoom link? And, it's a last minute, send it to them. That stuff can be frustrating. It can be inconvenient. And really, we want to take away anything that can be frustrating to the end user. And that's one of the things that we want to focus on is you're looking at next level type of stuff that, anything that we can do to take away that pain or frustration. So that's certainly one of them. I would tell you another thing that you can do, and depending on the conferencing software you're using, you can do this a little bit differently, but create a unique waiting room. Oftentimes there's a waiting room for if somebody beats you to it, to log in. And Zoom, I know, for example, allows you to describe the meeting, name it. You can have a little description in there. You can upload your logo onto the meeting ID. And so somebody gets into that waiting room, they completely know, oh, wow, I'm ready for whatever this meeting is. I know some of them actually allow you to pipe in different music. So you can kind of set the stage with some music inside your waiting room. Right. So just like there might be, an experience that you're trying to create inside of your waiting room at your office, you want to start thinking like that with video conference use too. Like, what can we do to create a unique experience for that person that's just about to come in, especially if they're meeting with you for the first time?
Yeah, and that does a couple of different things. Number one, it sets the stage in whatever way you might want to, based upon what you're piping in. So again, it's if it's an audio file, there's potentially some things that can be done there. But also, especially when you're dealing with your older clientele and they're still just not entirely 110% comfortable with all this, even though they're a long ways along the path compared to where they used to be. If they do beat you in there and there's that dead air, you don't want them to think that they got disconnected or they didn't connect correctly or whatever the case might be. And so sometimes just having a little something happening lets them know, okay, I'm connected. Mike's just running a second late and he'll be here in a moment.
Right. Yeah. You kind of started to go down this path, but you could even create a theme. I know I've seen and heard a lot of advisors doing more of this, so that they're actually creating an entire theme around a meeting, whether it's a group client meeting or prospect meeting or even a one-on-one. You could even have some fun with it. I mean, I would encourage you, if you're going to do this, to really draw attention to it. So you can even do different backgrounds, and maybe you're going to talk about vacation planning or retirement plan. You could pick some different backgrounds, or anything to help set the stage for a theme. You could maybe have some music playing in the background that's really soft and gentle, to set a tone for a theme. So there's a lot of stuff there that you could think about. I would also encourage you to send an agenda ahead of time. Now, I know we've talked about this a lot as a part of our process for face-to-face meetings to get them an agenda. I think that's probably as important in a digital, remote world as it is face-to-face, so that they can start to wrap their arms around, all right, these are the 5 things that we're going to be discussing. You at least have a track that you're running down, and they know, hey, this is really not much different than our face-to-face sessions, because there's an entire agenda. Plus it sets an expectation that, all right, this is what we're doing. It's no different than face-to-face. Matter of fact, if anything, it might actually be even more organized and professional, by doing that. And you could couple that with a BombBomb video, like we had talked about. Maybe you send a personalized video to them that says, hey, Mike, I'm looking forward to meeting with you tomorrow. Bring such and such and such and such. You'll notice included in this email is an agenda for what we'll be talking about. Looking forward to connecting with you.
Yep.
Really simple. That video explains what you're, a quick little reminder, and then you've got the agenda right there on the email. I think it gives you that chance to really up your level of professionalism when you're doing it. I'd also tell you, especially if this is an important one, and if anybody knows this, Mike, it's you should restart your computer. I know over the past week or so, you've had all kinds of audio connection issues.
Correct.
There's nothing more frustrating, especially if it's a group webinar, than all of a sudden you're logging in 2 minutes before and your audio or video setting is screwed up. And 90% of the time, the IT team is going to tell you, oh, did you restart your computer? And that typically works. But it's a big one to check your equipment, especially when it's a really important meeting or a group session. Yeah,
definitely. And again, if the good news is, as an advisor, most likely these meetings, you're going to be the one in charge of them, or at least your office will be. So, again, just like you had other people staging appointments for you, if you're now running these video appointments, and many people are. We have so many cool examples today. One advisor who's affiliated with USA Financial, he actually made an acquisition of another practice during the pandemic, onboarded 100% of the new clients all through Zoom, all through video conferencing, and had absolutely 0% fall off. He had 100% success rate. in having the clients adhere to his practice through that acquisition. They all made the conversion. He retained 100% of them. I mean, that's just shockingly effective. Now, granted, you have to think these things through. So the advisor who was selling the business was introducing the advisor who was acquiring the business, and they were doing this jointly together through video because of the circumstances of the pandemic and so on. But they controlled their stage, if you will, and all the equipment that goes along with that. So they had a staffer who was, in charge of organizing and setting up and staging each of these and booking these video appointments. And if you're, again, the one in charge, then it should be easier for you to kind of come in and out of these meetings, right, versus if you're the recipient. So again, to your point earlier, bomb videos, which we talked about on a previous discussion. I think it was maybe one or two discussions prior to this posting, if you want to go back and look at that. But that's a good tool that you can send an email and someone gets a very quick video from you that's a no-brainer. Click and it goes. And then you can explain to them what to expect and so on and so forth. So all of the stuff, all the cool things that we do to create systems and processes in our normal face-to-face oriented business, all of that can be duplicated and recast over into this remote model. But it's a matter of just getting the legwork done and getting it done first so that the client has a good experience when they meet you.
I'll share a couple of other ideas. And just if you think about, all right, what is the experience like when somebody comes in for a face-to-face meeting? Typically, they're coming into the office. They might sit in the waiting room. They were greeted by somebody up at the front. And so their first impression was they were greeted by somebody. So you can duplicate that same thing. If you have a team member, call your client or prospective client a few minutes ahead of time and just say, hi, wanted to welcome you. This is so-and-so. Just wanted to make sure you had the link. See if you had any questions. Mike is looking forward to connecting with you in a couple of minutes. He'll be on, he's about to log in right now, and just wanted to welcome you to our practice. Right. I mean, something really simple like that when you think about it, it's the exact same thing that's happening in your one-on-one face-to-face meetings. So how can we duplicate some of that stuff? I've heard of advisors that are leveraging some of the delivery services and having coffee delivered in advance for their meeting. So, I mean, that might be more than you want to bite off, but that's the type of stuff that you do that for a few people. And my goodness, that sticks in their memory that, wow, they really went the extra mile to create a unique experience for me. So, and to your point, Mike, about the advisor and the acquisition, it really works for something like that. When you have to think about the advantage that we get. A lot of times the structural difficulty with that is trying to get everybody coordinated in one place all at the same time. Well, when we're all doing this, I mean, really, we can have a meeting at any time of the day, wherever we are. So the logistical coordination is not as difficult as, the face-to-face meetings. So apply that one step further. Think about, we used to think, all right, if I want to talk with their adult children, I got to try to find a time when their kids are home and in town and that sort of thing. Well, guess what? We're all familiar with this. And if their kids are 18 states away, it doesn't matter anymore because we can send them a link and they can be in our meeting just like that. And I think the more we start to apply the advantages, take the stuff that we wanted to do face to face and really think next level and how can I apply some of these advantages? Really, the opportunities, they really become endless, and what you can pull off from a remote setting is actually way easier than what you can do face to face. So I think those are some really cool opportunities.
They are. And the only thing I would add to that is, again, anything you've done face to face, you can duplicate and do it this way, like what you and I are doing, video conferencing, right? But also, you might want to think about things that used to be a phone call that you would rather convert them to an experience like this and up that ante a bit. Candidly, I have way more video conference appointments during the course of the day than I do phone appointments anymore. In fact, I don't even book phone appointments. It's a rarity for me to have a traditional, what I would say, pre-2020 phone appointment, which is for anybody who's discussed with me, it's a busy time out there. You're not just going to randomly get me on the phone. We're going to have a phone appointment stage, just like you would with your clientele, I would imagine. But now it's really video appointments are being staged, and you get that much more out of it. It's a much more productive event.
Yeah, and I bet you the percentage, like before all of this, maybe 2% of my calls were video calls like this.
Right.
Now it's completely flip-flopped. I'm rarely on just the phone anymore. So
agree. Yeah.
I think it's a neat opportunity that we picked up out of it, and something that you have to continually think about. What can we do to really leverage this and take advantage of the opportunity that we've been given? As much as there's a lot that was negative that came obviously from the pandemic, there's some cool things that came out of it.
So next up, what we're going to talk about when I bring Mark back one more time is we're going to talk about taking this to the group level. So how do you use this video conferencing power, this horsepower that you've now picked up, and apply that to larger groups, whether they're clients or whether they're prospects? So if this information is helpful, as I always ask you, that one favor is simply make sure you like, you subscribe, and you comment to what we're doing, whether it's in YouTube or on podcasts. It all works pretty much the same. Again, just like, follow, and comment to let us know that this is helpful information to you. Please stay tuned. I'm going to bring Mark back again, and we're going to talk about all that I've promised in terms of taking this out to the larger group settings. Thanks so much. We'll be back soon.